All right, what's up, guys? Ryan with Elevate Security. Let's keep this series moving along. Now, in this video, we will be covering Telnet. In the last one, we covered SSH. And if you remember from the first video in this series, when I was doing the rundown, I mentioned that Telnet and SSH essentially serve the same purpose, only that Telnet is more of a legacy protocol and is not secure, whereas SSH is encrypted. Now, I'll show you the differences of what I really mean by the security implications that introduces. But yeah, it's very similar to SSH. So the way that I would do this, if I saw Telnet was running and I got some credentials, by whatever means, what I would do is run Telnet, which is another built-in command line utility, and then I would give it the IP address. And then I will be basically presented with, as if I was running the VM or whatever, I would see the screen here, and I would just log in the same way, with the same credentials as before in this case, and I'm able to log in just like that, and I got a nice shell going on. It's got the tab autocomplete, it's got all of that really nice shell. Now, I'm not going to make a 1-minute video, obviously, so we're going to dig a little bit deeper here. So you might hear a lot of, oh, it's in clear text, it's not encrypted, therefore that's a vulnerability, right? You probably have heard stuff like that before, but you might not know what kind of implications that really have, right? Because it's easy to know something's vulnerable, but when you see it, when you exploit it, that's why I like this stuff. When you do it hands-on, then you can really understand, not just like know like the words to spout out, but you understand why it's vulnerable and how it's vulnerable. So that's what I really want to drive home in this video. So yeah, Telnet, an unencrypted protocol, a vulnerable protocol. Why is it that this is the reason why in the modern day, like, if you're in any half-decent company, they're turning off Telnet completely. They're not running Telnet at all, and this is why it's vulnerable. It's a legacy protocol. It's vulnerable. I'll show you why right here. So in order to illustrate this, I'm going to fire up a program you might be familiar with called Wireshark. And what Wireshark allows us to do is it lets us look at the actual packets that are being sent across the air. Now, for the demo purposes, I have all these things in VMs, so I'm kind of looking at my own network. But if I was, on a corporate network as an attacker, I could listen on their network. If I was in a coffee shop, maybe doing some gray hat stuff, I might, want to listen in on the packets that are being sent across the air. This is why people say that coffee shop Wi-Fi, open Wi-Fi, hotel Wi-Fi is a bit risky to connect to. Now, if you're using secured protocols, if you're using HTTPS, SSH, you're pretty much good here, but this is the danger of using unencrypted vulnerable protocols. To illustrate this, I'm going to listen on ETH0. This is my NIC that I'm using for my bridged network that I have in my virtual lab environment. So we're going to listen on that. Now, you see a bunch of packets and things like broadcast signals and all this stuff, right? Wireshark, the way you use it, it's all about knowing what filters to apply in order to eliminate the noise and just get what you're looking for. So I'm going to apply a filter rule here. I'm going to say IP.address is equal to, and then the IP address of the target here. So I'm only going to be looking for that stuff, right? Now I have the shell here. So let's just run some commands. Let's say that I want to cat the etc password file. So, this will tell me all the user accounts on the system, where their home directory is, what group they're part of, and, a whole slew of information, right? Now I ran this command and I got the response back from the server. These were packets being sent across the network. And if we check this, we see all these Telnet packets here. And so now, as an attacker, we're sniffing. This is called packet sniffing, what we're doing here. We're sniffing the packets that are being transmitted across the network. So we can just look through here. We can just sort of peruse through all this stuff here. Don't see anything good so far, but what is this? We see the data here. We see the actual, all of this data here in plain text. So any attacker that's just sitting there passively sniffing the packets being sent across the network can see, okay, it originated from this IP address sent to our machine, in this case, the 103, and they ran this command, got this response back. So I can see the entire Etsy password file in plain text. So obviously that is a vulnerability, all of this stuff, and I can even see the prompt that it sent afterwards, this here. So literally every single command you're running, all of the output that you're getting back, that's viewable by anyone on the network that happens to be listening in. So that is the danger of this. So another thing that maybe I can sort of showcase here, and I didn't pre-plan this beforehand, but I could go back to, we'll see if I can get this demo working here. If I do the SSH way, and then let's say I run the same command. We'll do cat Etsy password. Where was it? Right here, right? So now you see all these SSH protocol requests coming through, right? But one thing you'll notice is everything looks like this. This isn't readable. It's scrambled. And that is because it's encrypted when it's sent over the network. It's actually encrypted. It's not just visible in plain text. So as I scroll through all of these SSH data here, I think this was probably the Etsy password data here. If I had to guess. See, everything's scrambled because it's encrypted. That's what the encryption's actually doing. It's scrambling it so that you can't just passively sniff it and read it off the air. Same thing if I was connected to websites and I was browsing HTTP, all of that data, all of the response data, request data would be sent in plain text, and I could just read it off of here. And conversely, if I was using an encrypted site, HTTPS, port 443, then everything, not necessarily port 443, but that's the standard. But anyways, if I was using the HTTPS protocol, it would also be scrambled here. So now that is basically what this vulnerability is when people say, oh, it's unencrypted, it's an unencrypted protocol or whatever, right? So that means I can just sniff it, read it in plain text in the case of anything network-based, right? So yeah, that was the vulnerability there with Telnet. Now hopefully you understand why it's considered a vulnerable protocol. And basically the reason that SSH was created in the first place was to address the Telnet issue. They wanted to be able to do remote administration on servers, but in a way that was encrypted and not vulnerable, like not viewable to anyone sniffing the network, for obvious reasons. But yeah, hopefully this video was enlightening, of help to you guys, and I will see you guys in the next video. Definitely let me know if there's any comments. As always, I'll see you guys.